EA sacked 300 developers across 4 studios. Ones who built best-selling shooter of 2025. Ones who put Battlefield back on map after absolute shit show that were 2042. And right now, we find out what their reward was for pulling off one of the biggest comebacks in FPS history. The CEO got a pay rise, an $8 million pay rise to be exact, gaining $30.8 million per year. All right, you lot. So Electronic Arts filed their 10K report, which, for those of you who don't speak corporate bollocks, is mandatory annual document every publicly traded company in America has to file with SEC. It's one document they can't bullshit you in, because lying in a 10K is actual securities fraud. And buried in this lovely bit of bedtime reading, on page 21, it's number $38.6 million. That's Andrew Wilson's total compensation for fiscal year of 2026. His base salary is $1.3 million, which sounds almost reasonable until you see that he got $28 million in stock awards on top, another $6.5 million in bonus payments, and then, and I genuinely love this detail, an additional $2.3 million in other compensation, which turns out to be for private jet travel. Because an independent security assessment recommended he fly private for all personal and business trips. So a company that just sacked 300 people is also paying for their CEO to never have to sit next to a normal human being on a plane ever again. And he wasn't the only one filling his boots. Laura Meal, president of EA, took home 13.7 million quid. Stuart Canfield, CFO, 11.3 million. Mala Singh, and I need you to really sit with this job title for a moment, Chief People Officer, 8.3 million. Jacob Schatz, Chief Legal Officer, 8.4 million. Entire senior leadership suite collectively hoovered up tens of millions in the same financial year that they told 300 Battlefield developers to pack the desks. 10K even has audacity to state that Battlefield 6 achieved meeting all milestones for a high-quality launch with positive critical reviews and stable services and gameplay. That's justification. That's what funded Andrew Wilson's bonus. Game it all milestones. Job done. Bonuses triggered. Developers fired. System working as intended. Now here's where Wilson starts talking about future, and this is where it gets offensive. Because same 10K report that signed off on nearly $40 million in CEO compensation also brags about EA executing a bold AI strategy. Their word, not mine. They've entered into key strategic AI partnerships, launched a Gen AI investment framework, and used AI to advance research, expansion, and efficiency across company. Wilson himself has been banging this drum for over a year now. Back in late 2024, he called AI very core of business. He's gone on record multiple times saying that AI will massively increase efficiency of game development and that human labour will be replaced by automation. He's telling you, to your face, that plan is to replace people with software and then paying himself $38 million for executing that plan. And timing of this is absolutely surgical. EA has had 3 separate rounds of layoffs in 2026 alone. Battlefield Studios got hit in March, around 300 people across DICE, Criterion, Ripple Effect and Motive. Then in June, another round, this time hitting recruitment, customer service, trust and safety, and IT. And there's been additional cuts on top of that which haven't been fully reported yet. 3 rounds in one fiscal year, and every single time, same flavour of corporate statement about realignment and better aligning teams around what matters most. Apparently, that's not people who make games. Here's something that should really piss you off. When a company announces layoffs, investors generally see it as negative signal. It means something's wrong. But when a company announces layoffs and says it's cost of AI, markets read that as positive. It signals innovation, forward thinking, and efficiency. So framing job cuts as part of an AI strategy ain't just spin. It's financially incentivized spin. It makes stock price go up, makes board happy, and bonuses bigger. AI ain't why those 300 people lost their jobs. AI is why Andrew Wilson got to call it progress instead of cost cutting. It's a press release. And I know what some people out there are thinking. AI, it's future, innit? Maybe those jobs were going to go anyway. Maybe automation is just how it works now. No, that's bollocks. And let me explain why. AI is a tool. It can generate bulk NPC dialogues, spit out concept art variations, help structure a game design document, or speed up certain parts of a pipeline. Ubisoft's Ghostwriter tool does exactly that. It generates hundreds of incidental dialogue lines, repetitive ambient stuff that'd take human writers months to produce manually, and then human writers review every single line, select what works, refine it, and direct creative output. That's AI being used properly. That's a tool in hands of a craftsperson. What Andrew Wilson's selling, and what far too many gamers are uncritically buying, is idea that you can remove craftsperson entirely and let tool run workshop. You can't. GDC 2026 State of Industry survey asked over 2,300 game professionals about this exact topic. 52% said generative AI is having a negative impact on industry, and opposition is fiercest among people who actually know what they're talking about. 64% are visual and technical artists, 63% are designers and narrative professionals, and 59% are programmers hold unfavourable views of AI tools. These aren't random punters on Twitter having a moan. They're people who built games you play. And US Copyright Office has confirmed that AI-generated content without meaningful human creative contribution can't be protected by copyright. So any studio daft enough to build an AI-dependent pipeline without documented human direction is sitting on an asset they can't legally own. Wilson's bold AI strategy is a legal liability dressed up in corporate PowerPoint. AI-generated characters are not at quality bar for player-facing content in 2026. AI key art is immediately detectable and signals low effort to buyers making split-second purchase decisions. Sound design, weapon impacts, footsteps, UI clicks, things players hear thousands of times, needs to feel satisfying and distinct. AI can't do that. Game design decisions about what makes something fun, what creates tension, what earns a player's emotional investment, those are human judgment calls. You can't automate taste or feel. You can't get an algorithm to understand why a particular level layout makes your palms sweat. That's human craft and experience. Now, gamers, some of you are getting this completely wrong, and I say that with love, but also with full intention of embarrassing you into thinking harder. Biggest misconception is games sold well, so developers should be safe. Now, that's not how this works, and it hasn't been how this works for years. Battlefield 6 sold 7 million copies in 3 days and peaked at 747,000 concurrent players on Steam. It was best-selling shooter of 2025, and 5 months later, 300 of people who made it were out of a job. A game's commercial success don't protect people who built it. Success protects executive bonuses, share price, and bottom line at annual report. Record sales are for shareholders, pink slips are for staff. Welcome to industry. Another misconception is AI is taking jobs and there's naught we can do about it. Wrong on both counts. AI ain't autonomously deciding to fire game developers. Boardroom suits are deciding to fire game developers and using AI as justification. Those are two very different things. Hammer don't build a house on its own. Someone picks it up, points it at a nail and swings. AI hits hammer. Suits at blokes swinging it. And what they're swinging at ain't an efficiency. It's headcount. Because fewer names on payroll means a leaner balance sheet. And a leaner balance sheet makes company look more attractive right before a $55 billion buyout. Stop blaming tool. Start looking at who's holding it and why. Another common misconception, this really gets me, new ownership will mean a fresh start. Now, Saudi public investment funds leveraged buyout at EA got EU approval 6 days ago. CFI US review in US as last regulatory hurdle. Deal values EA at $55 billion, and once it closes, EA goes private. Andrew Wilson stays on as CEO. So bloke who just pocketed $38 million while sacking 300 developers is keeping his job. And going private means no more 10K filings, no more mandatory pay disclosure, no more CEO to median employee pay ratios splashed across internet. Right now, you can read in a public document that Wilson earns 305 times what average EA employee makes. Hold up, Editing Scott here. Since recording this, US has gone and approved Buyout, and it'll be completed this week. Let's get back to the video. After Buyout closes, you won't be able to read out, because there won't be out to read. Lights go off, accountability disappears, money keeps flowing. You just won't be allowed to see where. And this ain't just an EA problem. Xbox just announced 3,200 layoffs and dropping 5 studios. Sony gutted Bungie in June, cutting roughly 400 of their 800 remaining staff after Destiny 2 shut down. Ubisoft put 380 jobs at risk in a June restructure on top of 71 layoffs at their Halifax studio in January. GDC 2026 report found that 1 in 3 US game developers has been laid off in past 2 years. And of those, 48% still haven't found a new job. Game designers were hardest hit profession, counting for 20% of all layoffs. 2/3 of respondents at AAA studios said their companies had conducted layoffs. 3/4 of game development students said they're concerned about their future job prospects. Next generation's already looking for exit before they've walked through the door. Andrew Wilson ain't just one CEO being greedy. It's an entire industry telling people who make games that they're disposable, that the skill, the craft, the years of experience, all of it can be replaced by a quarterly earnings target and a corporate slide deck about AI efficiency. This lovely little document full of numbers and corporate language and executive compensation tables, this is the last 10K filing you'll ever see from EA. Once Saudi PIF deal closes, and it will close, EA goes dark. So take a good look at those numbers while you still can. 38.6 million for CEO, 300 jobs for bin. An AI strategy that's really just a redundancy program with better branding. And a $55 billion sale to a sovereign wealth fund that has absolutely zero obligation to tell you a single thing about how it runs company that makes your favourite games. That's AAA gaming industry in 2026. And if that don't make you angry, I genuinely don't know what will. If you like this video, YouTube says you'll like this and next. So go check that out, and I'll see you there, you magnificent.